So one of the big impacts of lockdown has been the fact that people have just been prevented from getting back outside into nature.
We've come to realise that I really appreciate having access to nature and the outdoors. This asks the question, what happens to our mental health when we don't have the access to the green spaces?
So we'll be joined tonight on our live stream by Peter, Mark and Kathy from Bournemouth Parks Foundation. Now they're a charity that's all about improving the parks, gardens and green spaces in our local town of Bournemouth. But first, let's watch a short video to find out what they're all about.
In Bournemouth, we're lucky enough to already have awesome parks and open spaces. It's why so many of us live here. It's one of the reasons why we are known as the happiest town in the whole country. And 30,000 of you lovely Bournemouth residents visit Bournemouth Parks every day. In fact, together you make over 25 million visits each year. Maybe walking your dog, a picnic with friends, playing on the swings, fishing, riding your bike, laying in the sunshine, maybe kayaking or taking a stroll. And all these spaces are already loved and looked after by a team of professionals and volunteers. And you get all of this for £15 per resident per year. You get all of this for just 12.5 pence a visit. You've got to admit, that is incredible. But times are changing and opportunities are everywhere. For millions of years, our DNA has been hardwired to hang out with friends, to hang out outside, amongst the trees and the open spaces. But in the past 5 years, screens have started to dominate our playtime. Can we grab the opportunity of the crowd, of the connected population, of a shared knowledge and a shared passion? Can we motivate and inspire our friends and our family and our networks to ensure our parks and spaces are celebrated?
That our parks are not only maintained but enhanced.
If we created the very best parks and open spaces on earth,
would your friends,
would your family,
would your children
and grandchildren thank you?
Would they lead a better life? A healthier life?
a happier life,
A longer life?
A life in sync with our DNA and our love of nature.
You do have a choice.
If you'd like to join us, together we can create the most amazing parks, gardens and open spaces in the world. Visit lovemypark.org.uk and sign up to our newsletter today. Thank you.
So some really great images there from our local area of Bournemouth. Now tonight we're talking all about ecotherapy and getting back outdoors. And we're going to be joined tonight by Peter from Bournemouth Parks Foundation. So hi Peter, very good evening to you. Welcome to the live stream this evening. Now, Hello. Good to see you. I mean, I know Bournemouth Parks Foundation have this amazing project called Parks in Mind. So really I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit more about this project.
Sure, of course. So it is an ecotherapy project, but when you were talking to me earlier about, what is ecotherapy, you had me sort of scrabbling for Wikipedia. I was thinking, well, what do they say it is? And there is this sort of definition, and it sounds very formal. In fact, it says it's a formal treatment using the outdoors to for our health and well-being. I suppose, helpfully went on to say there's no single definition. So I wouldn't say that we're engaged in formal treatment. We're just using the natural world around us, the power of nature, to enjoy ourselves out of doors, encourage others to come in and work with us to improve our parks and nature reserves, and to do some things for health and well-being at the same time.
Brilliant. I mean, it's great. I mean, because it's this weird balance, isn't it, of like this very formal definition of ecotherapy, and actually the result is about people getting outside and really just being themselves and enjoying nature. And I know, Stephanie, you've done some events with Peter and obviously Mark as well. We'll speak a bit later.
Yeah.
About this.
So yeah, I remember doing lots of bird walks with both Peter and Mark when I was a child, Hengistbury Head and Stampit Marsh, and then when I did the amazing Jubilee things with Peter, and then I also volunteered as I did bird walks and things at Steamer Point and Stampit, which was great fun.
Yeah, and Peter, in fact, actually, Stephanie, we've got some pictures actually now of some volunteers on those projects. So I think you might be able to see on your screen now. There's a picture here of some volunteers. Now, I wonder, Peter, do you know what these guys are up to?
I know exactly what they're doing. They're posing for a photo that we asked them to pose, but actually, but it was, in fact, we were out on an early dawn chorus walk in Woodland Walk in Boston. It's one of the Parks in Mind activities. So as well, the practical side of Parks in Mind, which is going out and trying to improve the parks, whether that's planting trees or taking out rhododendron, tidying up and so on. There's also a learning and educational side to it, and a side as well, actually. So here they're looking at a bird, which our leader on the day had amongst all the other amazing birds actually in Woodland Walk. It's quite a really good little habitat site for those of you that know it. It's a strip of woodland that goes from the high street in Boscombe all the way to the cliff top. It's really, really nice.
Brilliant. And I know there's quite a range of activities that you kind of do, and there's another two people here that I've just brought up on the screen. Maybe you could tell us a bit about those. There's a beautiful rainbow coming out the top of the lady's head on the left, I think it is.
Yeah, there's Jade and Rachel. They current members of the Parks in Mind team. They particularly enjoy coming out to just get stuck in. They both really get stuck into the practical side of things, as you can see, but also interested in some of the other things that we're doing, the arts. Jade is really likes doing the photography bits and pieces that we've been doing out of doors as well. Oh. So and both of them came to the project, in fact, through referrals. So through they won't mind me saying that I know them very well, but through key workers at the time that they were with, supporting them, and they've joined the project, and actually it's been great because they both don't want to speak on their behalf, but they're not here. How they've enjoyed it, and they feel that it's done them a lot of good.
I see, and that's great to hear, because there is a real sort of aspect of people using this, isn't there, to get better and to for their own well-being, and that's really, really key.
Yeah, and the picture you've got there on the right of everybody having a cup of tea is absolutely key to what we do, because it's that whole social side, or sort of known as peer support, where people get together. And just chat and support each other, but this whole thing about that nice sociable cup of tea is a key element of every time that we meet up.
Brilliant. I mean, Peter, I'm intrigued by this. When you first came up with the idea of Parks in Mind, what drove you to start it as a project? Because there seems to be a good balance between people doing things in these pictures and then also that social aspect. Yeah,
I think I suppose all these things come from your own experiences elsewhere. Certainly, we're not the only ecotherapy project in town. Well, in the country, I mean. I think there are other ones in Bournemouth and Poole as well that do similar sort of work, working with people who are referred to the project, but also people who refer themselves. So I think probably in my previous job working with local authority in Christchurch, one of the aspects of the job I really enjoyed was working with people out of doors, and just I suppose that friendly contact and getting things done with your community was key. It was very helpful to us, of course. But and I just thought, well, now I moved to Boscombe about 5 years ago, and I just thought, oh, that sort of thing would work really well in Boscombe, and there was a bit of a gap. And I guess Boscombe, in particular, as many people know, it's a bit of a poor reputation in terms of well-being and inequality, and this is perhaps a small response to that. It's not a massive thing, but it's hopefully doing something, and the Parks Foundation saw it as something worth pushing forward. So I'm really grateful for that.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, you talk about Boscombe, and it's the next couple of pictures that I'm going to bring up. Actually, I know this is in Shelley Park, and Stephanie, I know when we saw these pictures, you kind of look, because you do a bit of yoga, don't you?
Yeah, I do a bit. I'm not very good. I'm not very good at yoga. But I was looking at that yoga and I was thinking, oh, that looks like something that we may be able to do soon, back outside, because outside you can be socially distanced, and it looks quite fun actually.
Yeah. Sure. Well, this was great, really, because we, in talking to Kathy, who you'll speak to later, the manager of the foundation, we said, well, we sort of thought, well, we can do anything. It doesn't have to be just picking up litter and maintaining the parks. We help the council do that as well, but we can do anything that gets people out of doors. That's the whole idea. And the foundation was already running park yoga, and we thought, as part of Parks in Mind, we would have our own version of that. And as you can see from the photographs, remarkably popular. And we were about to, just before lockdown, about to start Tai Chi as well. That's something we've been doing.
I told you.
Something we've been doing online as part of our response to the lockdown. But yeah, it's been great. So as I said, arts, yoga, Tai Chi, picnics, kickabouts, anything really, just doing stuff out of doors because it's good for us.
I was going to say, I mean, it definitely is. And I know, because we had a bit of a debate before, actually, with the whether it's yoga or Tai Chi. And obviously you knew it was yoga, but I was like, no, I reckon that's Tai Chi. But no, obviously it is definitely yoga. But I mean, it's quite clear it's going to be popular. I mean, it's beautiful out there. The weather's fantastic. Why wouldn't you go and get involved, really?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. No, it's. I think all these things, we just like to sort of think, like all of us, what can we do next, really, which is quite a nice sort of creative side of the work that we're doing.
Well, maybe we could ask just one final question, Peter. I don't know if you mind us asking this, but has the Parks in Mind project helped you personally in any way with your own well-being?
Definitely. I just see it as being paid to go to an outdoor gym, really.
It sounds pretty good, actually.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, I think really the best thing about it is the people that you meet and you mix with. People, perhaps, all of us that go to it, meeting people that we wouldn't perhaps have met. I think for everybody, really, it's not just the health and well-being benefits of being out of doors. And there's, we haven't explored this, but there's plenty of science behind the value of being out in nature. But also the health and well-being benefits of having some control over what you're doing in your community, of been able to contribute to your community. I think that's incredibly healthy for people to feel that they're part of changes to their local park, even if it is just their local park. So yeah, I think all round I feel like it's been good for me.
Yeah, I totally get that, because there's trees I've planted with your groups in Christchurch, and sometimes, well, I'm obviously not working at Twynham at the moment, but on a Monday morning when I was teaching there, I'd walk through Druitt Gardens. I think, yeah, I planted those trees, and it feels good that they're still growing.
Yeah, I think that's
I think it's really
I-
important.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Oh, thank you, Peter. That was great.
Oh, thank you.
So next up, we're going to be speaking to Mark from Bournemouth Parks. But first, here's a quick virtual ecotherapy for you. It's a relaxing flight around Hengistbury Head.
So tonight we're talking all about ecotherapy and getting back into the wide outdoors. We're going to be joined tonight on our live stream by Mark from BCP Council. Hello, Mark. Very good to see you tonight. Now, I know you've been working in the council. Hello. I always talk over people. This is terrible. It's a really bad habit of mine. I'm going to let you speak in a moment. But I know that you've been working for the council in green spaces for quite a while now, including Hengistbury Head that we've just seen in that drone flight video. I wondered if you could tell us a bit about your experience of working there.
Well, this is going back a long time. I started out at Hengistbury Head as a young ranger after being at university, so that could tell you how many years ago that was. It's more than 30. I seem to have been at Hengistbury Head for a rather long time. And there's a lot of archaeology there. I'm often referred to as probably the last hunter-gatherer at Hengistbury Head or something like that. But we've done, I suppose, it's just been engaged in so much conservation on the site. It's such a busy site, and so many different habitats there, from heathland, grassland, freshwater ponds, marshland, woodland. I mean, it's a fantastic place, and it kept me interested for some 20 years. So, and with 1 million visitors there a year, you can't help noticing how beneficial the environment is. On a place like Hengistbury Head, right next to a conurbation, which in southeast Dorset, which is, it's approaching sort of 500,000 people now. It's just a fantastic asset, and it suffers from being too successful, attracting too many people. But overall, I think the site with the ecology and the archaeology and geology are all internationally important. So that's my background, really.
I guess that's almost like the curse that we've kind of had in Dorset over the last few weeks, isn't it? You kind of see the success of our beautiful spaces, and Hengistbury Head is obviously no different. I wondered, Mark, do you have any favourite memories of your time working there?
Oh my goodness, so many. Well, one of my favourite things, not of this particular event, was the fact that when I started at Hengistbury Head, it coincided with all sorts of archaeology excavations which were carried out by Oxford University. I knew nothing about archaeology, being an ecologist, but they're now sort of quite famous excavations carried out by Professor Barry Cunliffe from Oxford at the time. and looking at all the Iron Age, when Hengistbury Head was Britain's most important port 2,000 years ago. And then another colleague came to excavate at Hengistbury Head, looking at the Stone Age and people that were living there 12,000 years ago. So this sort of really changed my attitude, and was an amazing time, really, because I'd never thought about archaeology. So that's an amazing memory. I think all the other memories are probably related to the fact that I lived on the site and in the Ranger's cottage. And so many things, so many weird things happen when you live on a site with people coming there at night time, having raves and, lost children and ducks and things being chased off their nest by a dog or something like that, and raising young shell duck in the garden. And my kids growing up on a nature reserve, they can now claim to have grown up in such a special place. I think those sorts of memories are amazing, because you sort of feel quite unique.
Yeah, I remember you opening up your garden to a moth trapping thing, and I remember being actually, I have to admit, I was absolutely terrified of those moths. I actually remember, I like moths now, and I remember at the time being just like really, really scared of them. But I'm sure it did me good.
That was called moth therapy. That was
moth therapy. It definitely was.
So next week we'll be doing a live stream all about moth therapy then.
I think we might have to.
We're still doing the moths. Yeah, we're still doing the moths, because they're that sort of thing. It's just amazing. People don't realise that we have these great big colourful moths. They think they're tropical, and you can just get the moth trap going at night, open it up in the morning, and then let them go again. But that is great therapy as well. It's very relaxing, and it's sort of always a surprise to see what you find each morning.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate it now. I think at the time they were big. They were big moths, and I was quite small. And I know how important it is. Like, it really does make you feel better being outside in nature. And I think you've mentioned before that there's been like research to back up that there's society benefits for being outside. Can you tell us a bit about research. That?
Yeah, there's a huge amount of research, and organisations such as the World Health Organization and all sorts of government reports, NHS, have looked into that. There's just a wealth of reports that have been coming out over the last couple of decades, looking at the benefits of getting out and about. And it doesn't have to be structured particularly. I mean, they monitor people. They're just taking some people out, lying on a bank and listening to skylarks, and their blood pressure has dropped considerably. People have sort of cured themselves of diabetes just for having extra exercise every day. So there's so much knowledge. There are interesting statements like if you live near a park, i.e. you have access to a green space, and that allows you to socialize with people, it can add 5 years to your life. And that's evidence that's come from many different countries around Europe, and places like Sweden have done lots of research into this. When you sort of think like that, if you're lucky enough to be able to live near a park and have access, you could add 5 years to your life. It just goes to show the value, the hidden value of open space, relaxation, clean air, etc., etc.
I think, Mark, one figure that was bandied around, or I read recently, was that green spaces and parks had actually saved the government. I think it was a figure of about £1 billion. I mean, that's a staggering amount, really, if you think about it.
We have quoted some amazing figures. Kathy will know this when you speak to her later. I'm always going on about, there's a figure, something like 2 something billion pounds. It's probably, anyway, it's a lot of money that they have done. They've looked at things like certain A&E departments in various cities, and prescribe. It's called social prescribing, getting people out and about, and then monitoring them. In many ways, this is what Peter has been doing as well, and then looking at the benefits financially in terms of the NHS and the fact there's fewer antidepressants prescribed. There's less time having to be spent in hospital, less social problems. And so when you add it all up, you come up to this amazing figure of something like £1 billion or more pounds. And this is an agreed figure by all the government agencies. It's quite incredible, but we've still got a lot to do to make that to realise that money and to put those savings back into the countryside. Perhaps it's something that's come from lockdown which might change attitudes there.
Yes, I think we can hope that, because I think lockdown's kind of given it's shown us how evident there is this divide between people that have access to green spaces and maybe people that don't have access. And I know that lockdown has been affecting certainly you, Mark, and Peter and Kathy. Your whole team has been affected by this. And really, we wanted to ask you about what it's been like to adapt and what your future plans are. But just before I do that, there was something first that we wanted to bring up and show people, because it's been capturing a lot of people's attention while they've been stuck indoors. So that was really, really amazing seeing those herons grow up and fledge like that. And we'll be joining Mark from BCP Council again in just a moment, because I know that these webcams and wildlife trusts over lockdown have really seen their traffic going up by a remarkable amount actually over the last few weeks. One report has actually said they've gone up over 6,000%. So that's a huge amount.
That is huge. I mean, I found sea otters and those eels in Japan that missed people. So I've been looking at webcams throughout the world, so it's been great. So tonight we've been talking all about ecotherapy and getting back outdoors, and we're now joined by Kathy from Bournemouth Parks Foundation.
So very good evening, Kathy. Now you're the Bournemouth Parks Foundation manager, and we really wanted to ask you how you and your team have found sort of adapting to lockdown over the last few months.
Oh yeah. I guess it's been a completely different challenge for everyone. We were we went to working from home quite early on, so to make sure everyone was as safe as possible. And we've just been trying to keep in touch, regular sort of video meetings and things like that, so that everyone still feels like they're part of the team, even though we can't actually physically meet up together.
It's a huge amount of work, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we're lucky we've got a really great team and everyone just, pulls together and does whatever they can so that, we're still able to offer our services. I mean, like the heron cam that you've just seen there, we had over 35,000 views of that over a 10-week period. That's all of Mark's hard work trying to get the live stream going on our website and, making sure that was able to be viewed by so many people from their homes. So.
Oh, brilliant! I mean, that it's amazing to see that, and it's a huge figure, really. I wanted to ask you, really, how do you find that people connect with the outdoor space in Bournemouth normally, as you'd experience it?
I guess, I mean, in Bournemouth, we're very lucky with the amount of green space that we've got here. But I think what lockdown's shown us is that actually on our doorstep, there's new spaces that we probably didn't even realise were there. So when you were going out on your daily exercise and not being able to go too far, you'd head to that park that was, a 5, 10, 15-minute walk away. And I had loads of friends saying to me, oh, did you know about this park in this certain area and things like that? And spaces they'd never even been to before. So I think it's given us a really good opportunity to really realise what's actually just on our doorstep.
Definitely.
Absolutely, yeah. It really, we've noticed that there's neighbours that we've never ever seen in our lives before, and they walk by every day, and now they wave and say hello, and they, I'm working out the front from home and they're waving through the window as they're walking their dogs. So I think, yeah, everyone having to stay in their area has actually made people connect with each other even more. And would you say that you've got more opportunities, you reckon, to put on events for more local people now?
I guess we just obviously have to be careful with what restrictions and things like that there are. So just trying to follow all the government guidelines and probably just being as careful as we can to make sure that always our staff, wellbeing is probably the primary measure there. But as lockdown eases, definitely we know the importance of green space, and Peter's Parks in Mind programme will start up again as and when we kind of feel like it's the right thing to do. And we know how many people are already wanting to come out and join us doing those activities because we know the benefits it will bring to them.
So, I mean, do you have any specific plans going forwards, or any exciting projects that you'd like to sort of tell us about that you do know you can put on, or what's going on?
It's a hard question because what we plan for might change in 2 weeks or 2 days, But yeah, so Parks in Mind, we're hoping to get up and going in some sort of guise in July. At the moment, you'd only be able to offer anything like that with 5 people, so we're just going to play it by ear a little bit. Otherwise, Peter might be repeating sessions 2 or 3 times a day, which might not be plausible because we know there's a big demand out there for that service. For other activities we've been able to restart are the community cafes, which we run. So say down at Winton Recreation Ground, we opened up a community cafe in the park there last August. And that was all around trying to bring nature and the countryside into an urban park environment by having a community space in the cricket pavilion there. So we opened up a cafe, running activities, education activities for kids, something called Nature Tots for parents and toddlers to get youngsters really inspired at a young age, doing things like the yoga in the park and those sorts of things. And so the cafe's reopened now for a takeaway only service, and hopefully at some point in the summer we might be able to put on some activities, but we just have to play it by ear at the moment until we really know what we can do.
Yeah, it's quite hard. I imagine it's quite hard at the moment to plan anything.
Yeah, or everything's a plan on a post-it note because there's no point in doing things too much.
But hopefully in the maybe in a year's time, how could people make that vision that you've got of getting people back into green spaces, like the Mother and Tots group, trying to get people how can people get involved and help you with things like that?
Yeah, sure. I guess for us as the Parks Foundation, our aim is really to get more people outdoors for longer. We know how the benefits of being outdoors and what that can bring to you. So we're just trying to do as much as possible to get people outdoors. So whether or not that's park yoga, and the park yoga we offer in Bournemouth Town Centre last summer had over sort of up to 200 people going to it on a weekly basis there. So whether it's more activities like that, trying to offer more facilitated volunteering activities as well, because actually we know that when you're with somebody like Peter and Mark, and I can't claim to be any sort of conservationist, unfortunately, but when you're with those guys outdoors doing activities, they really inspire you to want to learn more and to really get educated in the subject area. So hoping to offer as many activities as we can like that.
Brilliant. I mean, I know that certainly, Stephanie, you've picked up so much from Peter and Mark, because every now and again we'll be walking down the road or something, and there'll be something happening, and you'll say, "Oh, that's such and such a bird," or "That's such and such." And I'm like, how on earth did you know that?
I think the best was I made you pull over in the car. So I was like, "Look, it's a red kite eating a hare." We're like, "What? What?"
So yeah, firsthand, definitely. Obviously done a fantastic job. It's amazing to hear how inspiring they are and doing that work. So thank you so much for joining us, Kathy, on the live stream tonight. It's been a pleasure to speak to you.
No problems.
Now, over lockdown, people have been sending in their photos of nature to the Bournemouth Parks in Mind Facebook page, and I know Peter made me send a few in to his posts. So these were a few from people's gardens or daily walks, and just appreciate, like Kathy was saying, just appreciating what is around them in their local spaces. So maybe they didn't realise that someone had a really beautiful garden and they had some beautiful tulips and they took photos of them. And I also did contribute to these, and let's have a look at these now.
So I think we've got, I think you know what this is, Stephanie, because again, it was one of these moments when I looked at it and went, I should know, but I don't, and you know.
It's a really beautiful spring tree, a tree in blossom, and that is Buddy the dog, who actually looks really cute underneath. He looks like he's having a good time. And this, someone's named it Old Gnarly. I don't know where this tree is, but if you look really carefully, it's got a really grumpy face, which is apparently why it's called Old Gnarly. And that looks like hawthorn blossom in Merrick Park.
See, now that's what I didn't know it was hawthorn blossom.
I think it is. I could be wrong, but we'll go with it. This, to the untrained eye, looks like a field of dandelions, but actually it's cat's ear, which is slightly different because it's got furry, pointy leaves. And that's a jay.
See, I did know that. I knew that was a jay. I also knew the bird. Yeah, I was going to say I knew the bird behind it as well.
And that looks like three-cornered leek at the bottom of a tree in Shelley Park. And some of these are from people's gardens. So there's a really lovely garden there with some potted flowers. There's some clematis, and there's an azalea at the top. And it's just really lovely. And if you want to send in any more, just send them in, and I'm sure Peter will appreciate those.
Yeah, definitely.
So tonight, as you're well aware, we've been talking about ecotherapy and getting outdoors, even if it's just for a walk to your local green space. And we're joined again by Mark from BCP Council.
So very good evening again, Mark. Hello, welcome back. Now, I know that we've been helping you guys with your live streaming setup. I know that Mark, you and Pete have had a couple of one-to-one sessions with our producer Toby over the last couple of weeks, and I'm intrigued to know. I want to know what you guys have got planned for the future coming up. What are you up to on the whole live streaming setup?
Gosh, well, thank you. That's a great opportunity. I didn't know you were going to ask me that question. But no, it's been great. I mean, if I could put out an advert for you and your guys, the training was fantastic, really, and it's sort of given us it's short-circuited everything. All the magic of getting images in from outside onto your computer and then back out on Facebook or YouTube or something, and it's been brilliant. Why we really wanted to do it was because we recognise the richness of what's available outside, and a lot of people never get to see that. I mean, it's all very well. Obviously, none of us are going to get to see a heron nesting on the top of a tree unless we put a camera there. But there are loads of things that people don't get to see. They can't get out for a walk, either because they're disabled, they don't have the money to drive somewhere to park. And there are a lot of kids in North Bournemouth that never go to the sea. And I think that's a well-known fact. And it just goes to show how, we live in quite a divided society, even in the Bournemouth area. So we thought we would like to get some of these images out and about and do what you guys are doing, really, but probably from an ecological point of view, so explore some habitats like ponds and get people close to nature, show them the wildlife in our ponds, in our back gardens, newts and dragonflies and other aquatic insects, etc., etc. And when you get up close, they're quite amazing. So we mentioned things like moths a bit earlier. So we'll probably come up with a program of Eco Live, where people can sit at home and see a variety of interesting wildlife that they probably never get to see or get close to. And we know that from, as Kathy was saying, about the thousands of hits we had on the heron streaming, that it's something that people really do enjoy, and we've had lots of lovely comments. So that's the thinking behind it. We want to get out and about and share some close-ups with nature and some discussion like this, really, and bring it into people's houses and living rooms, etc., etc. And you have to remember, I think it's something like a quarter of people in Bournemouth and probably elsewhere do not have a back garden. So this is an opportunity for us to bring something nice into their homes.
Absolutely. I'm intrigued because a GoPro turned up this week at the office, and and I realised it did turn up. Yeah, sorry. But I suddenly realised that you can live stream from the GoPro, but it's also waterproof up to 10 meters. So maybe there's an idea I could throw across to you, Mark, and maybe that you're talking about ponds.
Yes. That's probably the next stage. You get a snorkel and a GoPro. I don't think we want to turn anything down, really. I mean, there are people doing things in rivers and with sound and audio and microphones and all sorts of things. And we're not the only people. During lockdown, all the museums were doing live tours of the museums, and people are being really, really innovative. And I think this has got a long way to go. Now we've got the technology, and thanks to you guys, sort of explaining to us how we can do it in a basic sort of way. We live on having grants within countryside, whether it's the council or Parks Foundation, and to get any grant, we need to show that we can reach a certain audience. And we found that through this, we can now reach thousands of people, not just tens of people on a walk on a Sunday afternoon around one of the nature reserves. So this is a great game changer. It really is.
No, it really is, and that's so exciting, because all of a sudden the story that, like you say, that was local to maybe 10 people, all of a sudden you've got access to the whole world, and they can also enjoy what you've got locally, because we have some amazing spaces locally. I mean, it's the area we live in is absolutely stunning.
It is, yeah, because we're one of the ones without a back garden, but it doesn't seem to matter, because we've got so much nature and green space around us. It's brilliant. And thank you. So to finish off, we're going to head over to Hengistbury Head. And some of you might have been following the kestrels online, but they have fledged. We were going to go over live, but they fledged. So we've got a time-lapse of them nesting in 2008. And I'm wondering, Mark, if you can tell us what we're looking at.
Right, okay, so this is from a couple of years ago. And we've got the female sitting on, I think it was 3 eggs that year, In fact, the one this year we had 5, and there's the male coming and going. So the female will probably sit on the nest, and the male will do quite a lot of hunting.
Is the male the one with the grey head? Is that the male?
Yes.
It's got the grey head, and the other one's all brown.
Yep. So this incubation is going to go on for several weeks, and there's a little time lapse into the chicks hatching out and being fed. Now, this can get a little bit gory because they're fed on live mammals. Well, probably dead by the time they get in there, and things like bank voles, other small mammals, but they will bring things like insects and occasionally even birds they will bring into them. And this is one of our most voracious predators. Of course, the kestrel is that bird you see hovering above the cliffs sometimes. It's got this fantastic gyroscope. It can actually stay over one spot. It's got very, very keen eyesight. It could sit on a ledge like that and see a beetle at 50 meters. And there they are, waiting to fledge, lead all the little young chicks. There's the last one, probably just about to go.
Ooh, felt like he fell out.
I think it was okay. And there we are.
It's so amazing to see that over that period of time. I'm intrigued, Mark. How do you go about the process of setting up one of those places so that you know that a kestrel is going to come in?
Right. Well, when we set up the Hengstbury Head Visitor Centre, that was 2014, what we wanted to do was to bring as many live images into the centre. So we invested a fair sum in putting cables all the way out onto the Hengstbury Head and putting cameras in different boxes. And we have a colleague who runs a company called Wildlife Windows, a friend of mine, Jason, and he's somewhat of an expert at doing these sorts of things. He's been doing it for quite a long time now, and I know he's got cameras at all sorts of reserves up and down the country. And I think it's just a bit of a skill. You get to know where to put a box. Each sort of bird will have a particular habitat and niche requirement. For example, the herons are quite an easy one. They tend to build their nests right on the tops of the big pine trees, and you can look to see where they nested last year. Kestrels like to be nesting on some sort of ledge, so really high up on a box at the top of a tree. And if you know that they're nesting and living around in that area generally and feeding, give them an opportunity, and they probably will take it. It doesn't always work out. We've got a barn owl, a tawny owl box not far from where the kestrels are, and it wasn't occupied this year. So it's not always guaranteed that we're going to get something.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Mark, for showing us that. It's absolutely fascinating and wonderful to see.
Yeah, and thank you to everybody who's watching. We've been exploring the ecotherapy and getting outdoors, and I hope you've enjoyed it. We have some comments,
let's have a look,
which we shall read out.
So here we go. So we've got a Penny Poor says yoga in park is, and I'm going to say awesome in capital letters, brings so many in the community together in the great outdoors. Thank you so much.
And David Pickett says they were probably looking at a woodpecker. That must be from Peter's photo earlier. Woodland Walk is round the corner from me, where I've seen and heard woodpeckers pecking at the trees.
Oh, okay,
that's
brilliant. Cool. Of course. Maureen Ball says Parks in Mind have made such a difference to Neepton Gardens, and it was a wonderful early morning. And she says that she learnt an awful lot and had a great breakfast at the end. So there you go. That's props to not only the walk but also the breakfast as well.
Sounds pretty good, actually. Although I wonder how early you have to get up. Peter will probably know how early you have to get up for the bird walk. And we've got Penny Poor here, and she says, "Can we have some land for ponies for human equine therapy?"
Oh, there's
now there's one for you guys.
What do you think about that, Mark?
You're picking on me.
Sorry.
But we do have quite a lot of land set aside for horse owners, ponies, actually down in the Throop, Holdenhurst area. It's a difficult one in towns because there just isn't the space and everything's being built on, isn't it? But yes, we love our horses, and they add something to the countryside and around on the edges of town anyway. But I don't think I can promise anything because it's not my area.
Well, thank you so much to everybody who's commented. We haven't actually got time to read all of the comments out, so thank you if you have commented, and do continue to comment as we go through the week, because we'd love to hear your thoughts. If you've got a question for either Stephanie, but more importantly, I think for Mark, Peter and Kathy, do write in, and we'll pass those comments on, and obviously they'll see the comments on the Bournemouth Parks Foundation page as well, so do comment on that, and I'm sure that somebody... One of us will get back to you and chat back. So do get in touch. Otherwise, if you've enjoyed what we've been doing tonight, do make sure that you like and share the live stream, because as we talked about it before, we don't just have to keep it local. We can now spread the message to the world. So if you've enjoyed seeing the nature that is in our local area in Bournemouth, make sure that you tell somebody about that, because I think it's worth sharing, isn't it? Yeah. Definitely.
And you can find us on Facebook, on YouTube, and also Twitter and Instagram at One City One Light.
Yes, so go and find us, not just on Facebook if you're watching, but yeah, on those platforms.
And thank you, Mark, Kathy and Peter, for being on our live stream tonight. It's been brilliant, and it's just been really great to know about ecotherapy and what is going on around in our local area. Yeah,
huge thank you to Mark, Peter and Kathy. Really appreciate the chance to talk to you. It's been great. We've really enjoyed it, haven't we?
Yeah.
So do join us again tomorrow evening, where we'll be doing a midweek meditation, as we've been doing for the last couple of weeks even. So do join us again at 6:30.
And on Thursday, I'm going to be playing the harp live at 6:30.
You are, yes. I'm looking forward to that. It means I get another evening off. I love it when you play the harp. Not only because it is so beautiful, but I get that. I get that time off.
I get to do all the hard work. No, it's not. It's good.
Yeah, so do make sure you watch out for that on Thursday at 6:30 p.m. There's an event on Facebook which you can sign up and say you're interested. So if you find that, that'd be great. But I mean, otherwise, I think it just remains for us to say have a really lovely evening, and we'll see you again soon.
Good night.